So this is Sanjeev, Alumni Secretary, SVC. So welcome to another session of Proconnect. Today we have Manasa, who is a 96 graduate from our college, and subsequently she's gone and done her MBA and BEd and MA education as well. And she's a joint secretary and trustee of the Shrine Vailankanni Senior Secondary School. And she held the principal post and various other posts in the past. So I'm not going to take too much time. She's well known in our alumni association. She's been a part of the association from very, very long time, actively involved. And she's part of the reason why the alumni association is where it is today. So I'm going to hand it over to Manasa to go ahead and talk about what she knows best, education.
Thank you, Sanjeev. So as Sanjeev had mentioned, I passed out in 96, and one of the, as I was studying third year engineering, that's when I got my marriage alliance. By the time I finished engineering, I had got married. It was more like a cinema story, because I did not know that I was actually getting married. Everything was fixed, and then they told me, which will not be the scenario these days. And in fact, there was somebody who even wrote about me, saying from Pal Payasam to becoming an educationist. I've never dreamt of becoming an educationist, because anyway, I got married into a family that runs schools for many years. So it was basically, let's say, trained by my husband, and lived with them to become one. And the last 25 years, what I've been noticing, what I've been observing is children from kindergarten to 12th, they adapt beautifully to any situation, to any scenario. What I have been noticing is the changes amongst the parent community that is very interesting. The very definition of education is now completely changed, at least in our country. When I studied in the school back in the 80s and 90s, education was a fundamental necessity for the parents. Now it is not a fundamental necessity. They feel that it is no longer an investment, and it has become more like a social status, is what I've been observing. So that is to give you a picture of how times have changed amongst schools and how policies are changing. We saw a national education policy of 1986. Now we are seeing a national education policy of 2020. NEP 1986 itself was not completely implemented. I can imagine how NEP 2020 is going to be implemented. The thing is, it is nice and easy to write a book, but tough to implement it. Policies will evolve. They are evolving every year. And of late, by the time a policy can be implemented, another policy comes in of late, especially with recent governmental interventions amongst the schools and in the education sector. So you have many boards, in the school system. The alumni of SVCE, yes, you have children who've passed out of schools, and then you have Bharani, he's got his children, he's got his girls studying medicine. I have a son who's passed out of 12th already, worked and now pursuing his PhD. And you also have alumni who have children who are in their secondary or senior secondary, or in the primary, or ones who are yet to get married. So for a mixed group, you have 3 to 4 kinds of boards or streams of education. The most trusted stream is the Central Board of Secondary Education. Then you have the State Board schools. For us, it's the Tamil Nadu Board. Then you have the National Institute of Open Schooling, which is also similar to CBSE. Then you have the Cambridge curriculum and the International Baccalaureate. Now coming to the CBSE. So it's mostly governed from Delhi. They have set up regional offices in most of the states in the country. So the regional offices help the schools in the respective states to share real-time information and to help them run their institution. Now, CBSE is basically an examining body and an affiliating body. So what they do is, for students who come to class 10 and 12, they set up the question papers for them. So right now you have a different mode of examination currently because of the pandemic. Previously, when it comes to CBSE, it will start the exam on 1st of March, whatever it is, unless it is a Saturday, Sunday. If it's 1st March, it is set, the date is set. But now with the pandemic, they came up with a term 1 exam in November and a term 2 that's coming up on the 26th of April. And then you have the state board schools who conduct their exams in the month of May. And then you have the Cambridge schools, that is the IGCSE, that starts from class 9 onwards, where the exams are conducted by the schools physically here, but the O-levels, the AS and the A-levels, that is 10, 11 and 12, the answer scripts go to UK for correction. And then you have the International Baccalaureate. Typically, American International School is the one that runs the IB curriculum to the letter. Otherwise, and then you have the National Institute of Open Schooling. So with respect to NIOS, they start from class 9. So 9, 10, 11, 12. And they don't require attendance. That's the best part. So it's anytime, anywhere learning. That's NIOS. The syllabus is exactly the same or even better than CBSE. Many of the people in the South are not aware, but it is one of the most sought after boards of education in the North. Simply because many students in the North, they want to try IIT. So what they do is they enroll into NIOS and they enroll into IIT coaching centers. Those coaching centers, they run from morning 6 a.m. and they run till night 9. So in different shifts. So these students go into those coaching centers, they take it up very seriously. But when it comes to 10 and 12, they write and they choose the subjects of NIOS. They write the exams of NIOS just to get a secondary certificate and a senior secondary certificate. So their focus is on IIT, while at the same time, they get their certificates from National Institute of Open Schooling. So we have a CBSE school. We are also NIOS accredited, and we also run a Cambridge board. What I feel is, from the last 25 years, see, students who want to have a particular talent, for instance, they swim very well. Some of them swim very well. They sing very well. They do not want to put in their, or for instance, they have so much of training to be done in a particular talent that they don't have time for attendance in the school. So those students, they should take up the NIOS the National Institute of Open Schooling, because attendance is not compulsory. All that you have to do is choose a study center and then apply there. And when exams come in, there are 2 series that come in, one in October and one in April. So these students, they focus a lot on music or sports, or you even have celebrities. In fact, recently, the dancer Shobana, she didn't have a senior secondary certificate because she wanted to apply for a doctorate in dance. So she recently took up the senior secondary of NIOS. She cleared it, qualified it, and got her certificate. So now I think she's applying for a doctorate in dance. So those students should take up the NIOS. CBSE has always been a trusted brand. And one of the reasons why CBSE schools came up is, the parents who are on a transferable job, say one is moving from Orissa to Tamil Nadu or from Haryana to Andhra. So getting into a CBSE school is very convenient. That is why CBSE came up with that stream of education. The other 2 streams, that is the Cambridge, the IGCSE and the IB, have slowly caught up. Simply because parents feel that there is more opportunity outside the country. But what I also see is the students who finish 12th CBSE, they are also moving out of the country because they feel that the experience of studying undergraduation outside the country is indescribable. I open the floor for questions because to be able to understand better, on the choice of education for any child once the questions are answered. So, Sanjeev.
Yeah, so I actually did have a question. So there are so many different streams of schooling, right now out here. So as a parent, I'm sure most of the folks have a big question, because when we studied it was CBSE or state board? ICSE was few and far and in between. Hardly heard of. We looked at ICSE as a completely different alien group, right? Because we hardly had friends and knew anyone there. Now there's IB, there is obviously ICSE has gone more. Montessori is picked up quite a lot. So how does a parent or anyone who's either looking to move the kids from overseas here or a new parent, how do they figure out choices? It's like going to a restaurant now. It's like you have 20 different places to eat at.
Yes,
right?
Yes. See, parents have a lot of choice. So one thing is they do get confused because there's a lot to choose from. But what they need to, first of all, understand is the capacity or the capability of their child. If the child is, if the parent is coming from abroad into our country, is he going to go back? You should think in those terms. If he is going back, then better that he chooses an international board, because if there will be a continuity, not only an academic continuity, it's the way it is being taught, because each stream is taught in a different way. If the parent is moving between states, CBSE is a good option. See, whatever it is, if the child is coming into KG or primary, there should be a balance. We find one set of parents who start asking, I even got a couple of queries asking me, should my child studying in class 2 require a tutor? Do they need a tuition? And there's another category where parents don't want their children to get into any competition. I don't want them to get stressed. It has to be, a very comfortable school life, a very happy school life. So 2 extremes. It need not be like that. Allow them to study. Allow them to experiment. When they come to class 9, that is when they need to decide how they should get themselves exam ready. Whether it is CBSE or ICSE or an international board, the seriousness should step in only in class 9 and not before that. So the parent should The ones coming from abroad or the ones between states, they should figure out if they're going to stay in the same location or if they're going to go back. So based on that, they should decide the stream of education.
Okay. Yeah, that helps, but it's still, see, no one knows why life changes, right? So it's still people, it's kind of being quite a lot of challenge. A lot of people ask me when they're trying to move out here, they're like, okay, what do we do? I mean, which is the best school, right? I mean, it's like a random question. So yeah, I know what you answered does make sense. If you're considering state, if you're within India, you're going to move with CBSE would help. That makes sense. But still, ICSE Montessori has become quite popular these days, and so is Montessori way of education. So yeah, so it's still not complete, tried and tested in India, I guess. But
the jargons are in vogue now. Montessori, multiple intelligence. It's all the way schools market themselves. Ultimately, when the child comes out of 12th, are they skilled enough to get into the tertiary sector, into higher education? That is what we need to, schools nowadays are getting to understand that they need to teach life, first of all. There is a rat race when you touch 9th, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whichever board you get into, whether you get into Montessori, whether you get into an integrated, there are schools which say that it is a mix of Montessori and Pillai methodology. See, it really doesn't matter which method you're choosing. Ultimately, the same solar system is being taught in primary. The same plant life is being taught. Now, recently, there was a parent I met, and she said, this new school has come up. See, parents also, they want to try something new. They do not want to go to schools that are well-oiled machines. They want to go to schools which have just opened up 2 years ago. See, it's not, it is not a shopping arcade. If there's a new shopping arcade that has come up or a new mall that has come up, that's where we want to go because we want to shop and see if there's something new that's come up. But you can't apply the same principle with education. You have to apply sensibility where figure out whether the school has sent out many 12th batches, because that school would know how to train your child, how to teach, because as it is, you find teacher attrition. Forget teacher attrition, there's principal attrition. I know of schools where principals are changing every year. How can you have a head of schools changing every year? So when a new school has come up, you're not even sure if that school has a middle school. So this parent has put the child in a school which has just opened up 3 years ago. They only have till primary. So after class 5, the parent has to leave that school. And the school has classrooms not as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have it as science classroom, mathematics classroom, environmental science classroom, and language classroom. So it's all the way you market yourself, because ultimately you teach the same mathematical concepts. 1 + 1 is always 2. It can't change. Is it not, Sanjay?
I hear you. I mean, it's a challenge many parents face because it's new world education, so it's definitely a challenge. I'll let the others have questions. I'll let the rest chime in if they have any questions.
Hi, this is Siddharth. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm kind of wondering if you're addressing a group of engineers because you're an SPC alumni, alumnus. Are you addressing engineers in general? Are you addressing everybody?
I'm addressing parents in general.
You're addressing parents in general. Okay. No, I see. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, that's just a small question I had. I'll let the others go ahead, and then if I have something else, I'll ask you. Thanks.
Are you a parent?
No, I'm not a fan.
Okay. Good.
Sorry, sorry, I'll let others go ahead. Thanks.
Just to add up with Manasa, Gulf countries actually we prefer to select CBSE because anytime we come back, we very well get an admission in any of the Indian schools. I
Um,
don't know about the European part and the US part, but in
Bharani,
Gulf
can you go
countries,
back? I missed the first part.
pardon?
I missed the first part. Can you repeat that?
I'm just adding up something to your talk. In Gulf country, we choose CBSE
Yes, yes, absolutely.
because it is available here, and anytime we are back in India, we'll be able to place them anywhere in India.
Yes, we had a branch in Abu Dhabi. We were
Vailankanni.
we had a branch there many years ago. We could not put in our complete our time to continue it. So we were run by they all come under the ministry. So,
Yeah.
So CBSE is the best there in the Gulf.
Correct. Just to add up your.
Yes, absolutely.
Somebody wants.
Pankaj was wanting to ask something.
Hi Manasa, how are you doing?
I'm doing
Okay,
good.
my general question as an educationalist or as a school, as someone who runs schools, and as a parent, I've always wondered, is there no proper methodology to identify a child's talent or skill, and what is the right path he should take much earlier than 12th? I mean, I would say by 7th, 8th, we should be able to identify what a child is going to be good at or is good at as an inborn talent or as a skill that he might have. So the right direction he can take in that earlier age itself rather than wait till 12th or college for them. After, I mean, frankly speaking, we figured out what to do after college only. We couldn't figure out anything before that. Is there no way to actually identify some things like that much earlier?
See, it's happening now because the strength per class is dropping. Previously when I studied and Sanjeev studied, I think we had 40 to 50 students in one class. Now we find that parents want personalized learning. So when personalized learning is coming into the picture, then automatically we figure out who is talented in what. For instance, what we do every year is we send out a talent form to everybody, to parents and to the children of the school. And we want to know what they're interested in. I mean, that's what we do. So if many schools do that, and also if they are willing to keep the strength of every class a little lower than the usual, then there is a lot of opportunity for the teaching community to figure out who is good in what. But I'll tell you something. When we identify and when we tell the parent that, okay, he is particularly talented in this, there are some parents who do not want to pursue it because they're more interested in academics. That's one category of parents. The parent community should also, be cooperative with the school community first and foremost. So that is very important. See, previously the triangle where you had the parent, the learner, and the teacher, the triangle used to be complete previously, but now the triangle is breaking because there is a lot of challenge that we see from the parent side. A lot of challenge. It's not just, it's basically the attitude. It is very, very comfortable working with children. But you see, the parent needs to also work with the school community to actually understand the child better. What do you say, Pankaj?
No, I agree on that. Even I feel that, I mean, in fact, what surprises me sometimes when I hear about parents going and demanding things in schools and demanding teachers to not treat their kid in a certain way. I mean, where else will a child learn discipline if it's not taught to them at home and at school? So if, for me personally, if the school is caning the child, I need to cane him too. to some extent in terms of understanding where he has gone wrong and correcting it, rather than putting the attitude into the child thinking, no, the teacher is wrong. Unfortunately, in our generation at least, we always had the respect to the teacher. We always were taught to believe that the teacher is right and follow the teacher. Today, everyone is questioning everything. That's a different thing. But my general and that I really appreciate schools these days and how they tolerate parents of that sort. That's a different discussion altogether.
No,
But yes,
I never even thought about this particular aspect. But it's good that you brought it up. You hit the nail, because what you actually mentioned is now with the millennial parents, which is so difficult, absolutely difficult to manage. And the corporal punishments and all is all done away almost from 2000, way before 2000. All that is done and dusted.
yeah, I completely agree. But then
And in
a
fact,
child needs
it has
disciplining,
come to such an
definitely.
extent, you can't even speak sarcastically to parents or students. Not allowed.
I know. But then my question arises, two things. I mean, and unfortunately, the parents are not disciplining the child.
Yes.
See, I'm not being harsh on a child or anything, but then the child needs to understand the discipline and his
Yeah.
responsibility.
So there's one thing that I wanted to also mention, which I didn't. It is about transferring culture from the parent to the child. There's a complete
Absolutely.
lack. There's a complete lack of culture. See,
Absolutely.
previously when I studied, um, we were all traditional conservative families, and culture existed, traditions existed, and that is why these things never even existed when we studied. And when parents received salary, they would first allot. First, the thing that they would do is allot a part of their salary towards school fees, because they understood that education is an investment. Now it is not like that. No longer. Now it's the very definition of education is completely lost. So, as you say, it is a lot. It's very stressful for everybody in the educational institution. Everyone.
Hey, Manasa.
Yes.
This is Rajesh here. I have two questions. I don't know how much time we have. So if you, I don't know, I'll pose the questions, and if you have time,
Go ahead.
please.
Just ask. I think
Please.
we can go over by 5
Okay.
minutes or so. If everyone.
Okay.
It'll probably be of interest for everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Sanjeev. So one is, kind of, I think as a parent, how do you, keep the kind of a spirit of inquiry, curiosity alive, especially like, I have a child in primary, and, going in another year, moving from primary to secondary. And I know that means there's going to be more academic focus and pressure, right? But how do you kind of keep that, learning by doing discovery and kind of things, alive? Is that something that the teachers need to do more? Is that something parents can do more? Especially as it's becoming obvious that, the careers of the future are going to be things that, we probably haven't even thought of yet, right? So that's one. The second question was the pressure that us as parents are facing from, the barrage of edtech companies, right? So, online coding and online this and that and whatnot. A lot of it seems marketing driven, but there's also a real concern. Like, I've spoken to doctors and stuff, and they, worry about it's actually going to impact the mental development of a child overall, right? And so there's obviously a huge peer pressure. Most of my friends have their kids in these classes. I don't. How do you kind of see that?
Okay.
So two questions. Yeah.
Okay. So see what parents what they should do is those parents who have children in kindergarten or primary, start focusing the child, move them to co-curricular activities. Focus a lot on that. The child is already going to school. The child is sitting in the school for 8 hours. So now is the right time to put them for evening classes, after school hour classes, like swimming, something physically, swimming or gymnastics, and something like theater, because a theater or creative writing or art, focus them on that. I'll tell you why. When they move to class 9, 10, 11, 12, whether it's a local university admission or admissions abroad, we start building their profile from class 9 onwards. So what happens is, if the child is going for a Trinity Performing Arts certification, or a Trinity Communication, or Model United Nations, you start very early. So by the time the child comes to 6, 7, 8, they would have cleared the certificates of grade 6, 7, and 8 by the time they touch class 11, because the certification from grade 6 is important. So you focus on all the after school hour activities in kindergarten and in primary, because what happens is, generally the child's energy is very high at that time. The child doesn't get tired even after school. So by sending them to all these activities, you start collecting those certificates by the time they finish middle school. When the child comes to class 9, you start focusing on academics. And I'll tell you this, if you start putting a tutor for academics very early in life, very early in the school life, they burn out by the time they finish middle school. For instance, I've seen, this is out of experience. It's not that it's going to happen to all the children, but what I normally see is, by the time the child comes to 9, 10, the parent put them for Fiji from class 6. By the time the child comes to 10, the child is so tired of academics. And when they come to 11, they perform extremely badly. But when you start focusing on academics from 9th, see, of late you find students, irrespective of the teacher inculcating creative thinking, the child has actually become, it's very easy for them to become independent thinkers and independent learners. That's what I'm noticing. It's very easy. You don't even have to train them. You just have to facilitate the whole process, and they become independent learners and thinkers. So by the time they come to class 9, they are ready to compete, because as it is, they've competed very well in the after school art classes. So the first question that you wanted to ask regarding, parents with primary children. Second question I forgot.
The second question was around, the impact that EdTech and all these online coding classes and
coding, yes. See, actually, those classes are not required. If you take the syllabus of computer science, either in CBSE or in international boards, it's quite heavy. If you take ICT or computer science, for instance, in CBSE, they start Python in class 11. And you see, the focus first should be to score in the school exams, whether it's universities locally or universities abroad. They always say, the career counselors always say, that you must score very well in your school exams. So the rest of it is immaterial. The certificates that the children collect in in the lower classes, it's actually to add to make the package more interesting. That's why, and also to help the child build. You talk about you spoke about you use those jargons, no? Curious, being curious, and trying to learn by doing. All that will fall in place when you focus them on all these activities. That's what I've noticed amongst these children. And that is what I've noticed in my younger son also. See, I have two sons. My older one went through our own school, CBSE. He actually kind of almost burnt out. I put him for all the classes when he was a child, gymnastics, tennis, football, you name it. And I put him for Fiji only in class 9, but I pulled him out in class 10 because I found that these classes, I'll tell you, they train the student very well for the IIT coaching, for the IIT exams, but they tell you that they will not train you for the 12th standard board exam. See, that is where you need to score first. Not this. That is your main exam. I mean, that is the mark that is actually taken for any admission. So I pulled him out in 10th standard. By the time he came to 12th, he started slowly, and then he got his 90 plus score, went into BIT and BTech, then his intelligence systems in MS in University of Dallas. And after he worked for a couple of years with AstraZeneca, he got into Dartmouth, absorbed him for a PhD. The second son, see, I understood the capacity of my child. So also I didn't want to, I wanted to take it light with his education in the lower classes. So I put him in a new school for preschool. And they had only till upper kindergarten. Luckily, all the schools that he went to were Cambridge, were international boards, basically. So he went to an international preschool and then an international primary school. And now he goes to a proper, full-fledged Cambridge school, which has sent 12th standard students, 10 batches of 12th standard students. So it is a Cambridge international school that has been there for more than 10 years. So I did not want to test. Now he's in class 10. He's moved from class 9 to class 10. And what I have started is to build a package, to build his profile. I've decided to get one community project done in class 10 and one intellectual project to be done in class 11. So because those two projects are required for students who finish 12th and then choose a university abroad. So this is the process that a parent could follow and is also good to follow, whether you apply locally or abroad. Because when you apply locally or abroad, when the marks are similar in admissions in the university, they see which package looks more interesting when they compare 2-3 packages, profiles of students.
Hey, I have
Thank you.
another question.
Thanks,
Can you hear
Manasa.
me? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I have another question. I have to say a couple of observations, not questions actually. Can you hear me?
Yes, that.
Okay. Yeah, the first observation is that recently I got back to an alumni for the 25th year reunion of our school, of our high school. 5 years back it was the 20th. This year it was the 2021 was 25th. And it was very heartening to see that everybody was so supportive of each other. It doesn't matter if they were computer science, biology, commerce, it doesn't matter, it didn't matter. All of us are so supportive of each other. So in general, the first observation is don't worry so much that your kids are going to be, aren't going to be this or that in life. Because when they all come together, there were a few teachers, there were no parents, but everyone was just happy to see each other. That's the first observation. The second observation is that all these, you're constantly being bombarded by advertisements of, Shah Rukh Khan with Byju's, or, it's big money too. You make millions of dollars teaching in Byju's, or, you have 2 teachers per student and every other thing that you never anticipated. So I'm sure you take that into account in your strategies when you plan for, for education. So that's just another observation. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
So one of the observations, recently, the common university entrance test that has come up, that is they said that 12th standard marks will not be taken into consideration for central universities. So that is going to impact a lot on at least schools in more of schools in North India, because you have the Delhi University, the JNU, and you have another one that is funded by UGC. So in the south, I think you have Pondicherry University and another central university. So we do not know how many students actually apply in these universities, but I think, these policies evolve, and they sometimes die very soon because another new policy comes in. I mean, that's what's happening of late. Previously, policies will come once in 10 years. Now, policies are coming in every year because you have bureaucrats interfering because they want to make a change. So don't worry. At least parents with children in the lower classes, policies will change radically every year. So you can decide as the policies change. And there are a lot of opportunities, plenty of opportunities. So it's not that this policy is going to disrupt. Yes, Byju's and the tuition centers will be at an advantage when they say that the 12th marks will not be taken into consideration for the admission into central universities. So we'll have to see how it all works out.
Yeah. Thanks for addressing those.
The thing that I had, Manasa, what's the, I'm so out of it. So what's the deal with the third language and second language now? I'm trying to understand what is the deal with CBSE? What is it with state board? If you could brief us on that.
See, CBSE previously was a very beautiful, trusted brand, trusted system of education was. I'll tell you why. They behaved themselves and they stuck to their reconstitution that said that they will be an examining body and affiliating body. But in the last 15 years, they've been interfering with the actual transaction of the curriculum. They have interrupted it, disrupted it, and killed it. That's what they have done. So much so that your NEP 2020 talks about setting up Hindi as the main language. Nobody has read it from page 1 to page 200. If you actually go through it, you'll be shocked.
I did. That's exactly why I posed that question. Because I was like, you're going to teach it in a language which most of the country actually does not speak. And it's, I also read somewhere, which I could be wrong, up to 5th or 6th, you are going to be taught in you could be given an option to be taught in the state language. I heard that. I'm not sure if that's true. But English as a medium would be coming in from 6th or 7th, some grade onwards. So, I'm just trying to get my arms around it to understand what the true picture is from you in terms of what is the medium of education still going to be English? First question. Second question, second language in CBSE and state board and ICSE, blah, blah. How does that work? At the present, at least, it's subject to change. And what's the deal with the third language in the current scenario?
Okay. So third language stops in class 8.
Okay.
You must take third language till class 8 to get into class 9. That's mandatory for CBSE.
What about transfer students, like if they come from overseas? How does that work?
They will clear the third language paper. That is given by the school.
Third language starts from which class?
It can start from KG itself.
Oh,
Nobody is bothered. CBSE is not bothered.
Okay.
As long as the child clears third language in class 8.
Got it.
Now coming to the class, coming to the second language. See, the bylaws which have been amended recently, they're actually contradictory. Okay, so you can use it to your advantage because there is a loophole. I do not know whether I should mention it here. See, now all state board, all the state government, all the states in the various states, if you go to Hyderabad, you must learn Telugu as the second language. If you go to Kerala, you must learn Malayalam as the second language. If you are in Tamil Nadu, you must learn Tamil as the second language. And in Chennai, 2024, all the 10th standard students will write only Tamil. There won't be any child who's taken up any other language, because we have been giving Tamil as the second language from class 1 almost 10 years ago, right? Now, what CBSE says is, I am willing to provide the question paper for class 10, any language that you choose, but you check with your state government. That's the only answer that Delhi provides.
Brilliant. Okay.
So you have to use it intelligently, because a parent who's moving from Orissa into class 9, the child is definitely not going to write Tamil in 10th standard, right?
Huh.
Yes.
That's exactly. So
Yes.
is the question paper, you're saying the question paper will be in Tamil, could be in Tamil, and
See,
your answers have to be in Tamil also?
10th standard board exams, the question papers come from Delhi only.
Right.
Right. So what he says is, I will provide any question paper for class
Any
10.
number.
Check with your state government. So parent should go to the regional office and tell the regional officer, see, I'm coming from this state. Okay, my child definitely cannot learn this language. So as a special case, that child will not write Tamil.
Brilliant. I mean, that's what I mean, the whole thing has changed so much drastically in terms of language becoming prominent.
As per the bylaw of CBSE, CBSE was reconstituted for parents on transferable jobs. That is the whole point why it even came up. Its very existence was only because of that.
Right.
Now, if you're going to kill that very existence, what's the point?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. The entire new policy, which I read briefly, not obviously the whole thing.
And there was another thing with NEP 2020. They wanted to make all NCERT books bilingual. There was vehement opposition, and hence it wasn't done. They said that first of all, it is wrong. Okay, you can't have social studies in English and in Hindi, right? And the bags will become heavy, and there is a rule that the child cannot carry this particular weight. So they vehemently opposed, and hence NCERT books are only in English.
Small respite. So as I take it, what I understood or take away from that, the last bit is, so you are pretty much taught in Tamil or Hindi? I mean, as the case might be in school, is that where it's going to?
Second language?
Not only second language.
It's English.
Okay.
English.
Okay. The other ones.
They wanted to print the books in bilingual.
Understood. Okay.
See, first thing is, parents should understand the capacity of their children. Parents must first of all figure out what they want for their child. They don't know what they want. Okay, then they should decide the school. They should go to a school which is not very new. The school cannot test the waters with their children. Okay, the child can study second standard only once in its lifetime, correct?
Yep, it's a challenge in the new age schools for sure.
He cannot, the parent should not, say, okay, let the school test the waters with my child. No, they go to schools like this, where that is the first batch for second standard, the first batch for third standard. Why are you testing when you have well-oiled machines?
Challenge. I mean, there's a pro and a con, but yeah, it is obviously difficult to accept and make sense out of it that you would want to test in a new spot. But the millennials are all about trying new things. Looks like, at least it's a challenge. I'm lost between the two. to be honest, on my end, because the way the whole school works, there is restriction in terms of growth in other areas in education to a certain extent. There's a limited. Is it good or bad? I personally think my personal opinion would be, I mean, you have to restrict a little bit because otherwise it's totally out of whack, because no kid really knows what they want to do when they are young. I mean, when you grow, you see a lot of things and then you evolve. So a structured environment would be better, at least according to me. And a regular and experienced school would definitely help. But yeah, I mean, there are cases to be made out for the other kind of education, or maybe kids of different lifestyle, right? Like arts is, I mean, I know kids who hate education, but they're awesome at arts, right? Theater or other things. So I guess those kind of things would help a bit more. But
That's why I said, let them try all the after school activities when they are young, because they get the best of both, academics from the school and the after school activities. So go and search for the best when it comes to after school. So you start building the profile of your child.
that makes sense.
And then you put them in a full-fledged, well-oiled machine when it comes to class 9.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Right? Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything more? All right. I mean, if no further questions, I mean, Manasa, thanks. Always a pleasure to have you. And thanks for enlightening us education. And I'm sure there's something interests multiple people. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are overseas who are come, and when they come down here, they have absolutely no idea which school, what curriculum. It's a nightmare. So hopefully, whatever you've spoken about will help most of the folks from our committee, from our alumni association. So thank you so much for the insights that you have provided today, and thanks to everyone who has joined. And if you guys have any questions, you can post it on to us at the group, to the association committee, and we will share it with Manasa and try to get her to answer those for you as well. So thank you, everyone. And thanks, Manasa, again.
Bye. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thank you, everyone.
Manasa.